How's it going, guys? It's Deadmano here, and today we're doing a somewhat different Skyshards status update. I'm actually wanting to address a question, question that I've had asked several times already, and I thought it was about time, I shared somewhat of the inner workings of the Skyshards mod. Obviously, before I continue, it goes without saying that this is a hobby that I am passionate of, and obviously there are other things that do take priority, such as obviously work, studies, and of course, social and other activities such as gymming. So as much as I do want to put in as much time as I can into the mod, there are also times where I simply feel demotivated, especially when you end up doing the same repetitive tasks over and over. So I'm glad I'll be able to share that today, and you guys can perhaps see what it is I've exactly been through. So first off, what we're looking at here was the planning phase that I had for the Skyshards mod. What this is, so I just want to turn the opacity up. So before I even started the mod, I decided on somewhat of an arbitrary number, I guess, 108 Skyshards, because I thought that was a perfectly divisible number by 3, the amount of perk points that I was hoping to use. And that was, the basis for why I chose 108 Skyshards. And then obviously I needed to look at the fact that I wanted to spread them across all 9 holds. And I thought, taking into account some holds are larger, some are smaller, there needs to obviously be varying amounts of Skyshards to keep things interesting as well. So that's why you notice initially when I started with Whiterun, Whiterun has a total of 18 Skyshards, whereas a smaller hold such as, let's say, Winterhold, Winterhold and such will have 8. And what happened here exactly is from version 1, I decided, okay, I think this was -1, -7. Yeah, so this was the first Skyshard in Whiterun. And as I said, I tried to have them equidistant, and huge emphasis on tried there. But as you'll see, here's the first one, the second one is over here, the third one is here. So we almost created like a triangular effect, and they're all somewhat relatively equally spaced out. Obviously, take into account, I try to place them near other like landmarks and stuff to make the quest system obviously easier to write out, because I mean if it's in the middle of nowhere, and there have been such Skyshards, if they're in the middle of nowhere, then it's really hard to reference like the Skyshard by the large tree next to 2 boulders, so that's also something I had to take into account. So I'd basically run around the world. I'm not gonna lie, it took me about probably 40-50 hours, and I would run around, look for a really cool spot, bring up these the cell number, and basically take that down. So this was a map that was readily available online by NicoCoin, if I'm reading that right, and I slightly modified the extra cell borders so that they can be a perfect 1-to-1 representation. So like obviously this was on a scale of 4x4s, and yeah, that's basically what I did. So I'd go around, I'd plot these Skyshards down, and once I was done with all 108, then I could eventually get into what I'm going to show you now. So we're going to be doing Winterhold. This is obviously this is going to be a live update. This will form part of the final placement update, which is version 1.5.0. And I'm going to be placing the final Skyshard in Winterhold. So this is Skyshard number 8. Unfortunately, it's hidden by other text layers, so I'm just going to go and have to hide that. But we both saw that that was number 8, and then we basically get the cell coordinates like in the exact cell. That's why it was so crucial, because initially I'd have a 28, 24, and then you kind of have to guess where it is, and the accuracy, it's already bad as is, and you'll see exactly what I mean now. So we're going to go to 27, 25. But obviously we need to know what that looks like, what we're looking for. So this is my folder of all the locations. All 108 screenshots were taken. Extras folder are just like possible extras if I ever want to swap them around. But in this case we're looking for 2725, which is over here. So some of you may be thinking and just, what the hell? And I clearly wasn't thinking things through at the time. I was just going around. I wasn't taking into account weather or visibility. I'll just be like, la 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 la, this is a very nice place. Okay, cool. Get the location, take a screenshot, move on. Little did I know I'd have to actually be trying to find, this location somewhere down the line. Yeah. So this is one of them. And we can go into the creation kit now, and we can obviously put in the coordinates, which I've already done. And this is basically what we presented with. So now we're going to have to try and get our view in. And I've taken the liberty of trying to find this place in Winterhold. And, I'm not going to specify how long that took me because I'm somewhat ashamed. But I found it in the end. And, oh dear. Did I lose it again? No, hold on. Over here, this side. There we go. So this location that we're actually wanting to do is right over here. So as you can see, as per our screenshot, obviously a different angle and whatnot, but this would basically be what we're looking at with this set of rocks as my guideline and these three smaller ones, which you'll be able to see on this side. So yeah, moving around the CK is another thing as well. But as you can see, this formation of rocks, this one larger one, and the four smaller ones. There's your larger one, four smaller ones, and that's what I basically had to go off of. But in the end, I discovered that it's this little ledge over here. And so what we basically do is, cool, once we found the location, we need to place the Skyshard down. Now I've already copied a Skyshard from one of the original ones, so all I technically have to do is paste it down here. So I'll paste down the assets, which is, the beacon, the map marker, and of course the Skyshard. Now what needs to be done is the positioning. So I'll go in and obviously just place it accordingly, drop it down to level. And the next part is obviously getting it to, well, look good, because unfortunately, there is elevation and we have a mesh to work with, and sometimes, I can just go through there and it's like, nope, that doesn't look good, so I have to basically work with this, taking into account, the steeper elevation. Some places are flatter, and yes, I could have chosen flatter areas, but then it kind of got monotonous, and I just wanted, a variety in where they're placed and try to keep it natural. So now I have to go around, try to rotate this while hiding the base so it doesn't stick out too much. Sorry, I'm really bad at navigating today. So yeah, kind of just trying to get it in there. I think that looks, whoops. I apologize for anyone getting nauseous. So yeah, I think that's about right. Oh, this navigation, that's one thing I wish they would work on, the sensitivity as well. So that's about it. I'm happy with that. And then obviously sometimes accordingly I'll have to adjust the beacon, especially if it's underneath a certain object and then it's hanging through or somewhat. And then obviously I can toggle the marker visibility, and that looks pretty good. Just bring it down. Alright, and yeah, then we basically have the renaming, purely for the quest system. This is number 8, so we'll just go and rename it, and then the map marker as well, so this will just be called Winterhold 08. And we will obviously have to set the marker data because, well, for internal testing purposes, I do have them teleportable to which you can, configure in the Skyshards configurator. But this is mainly for myself to test because obviously seeing it in the creation kit and seeing it in-game is two vastly different things, and there have been other quirks that I've, discovered from time to time. So this is for internal purposes mainly, so most of you won't see this unless you enable it. So I just Winterhold Skyshard 08, and while I'm still testing, I will have it set as the Doomstone type so that I'm able to actually reference it at a later point. So I'll just stick that over there. And then we need to just position the marker, because this will obviously be where you will teleport to when you well, when you select to teleport. Sorry, my hand's just a little bit fidgety today. It's somewhat cold. And then yeah, you won't really see this, and it doesn't do much, but somewhat of OCD, so I try to align it. And then what I do is I bring up the map marker list, and I will drag the map marker into this list. This will be for the enabling and disabling of them as per the Skyshards configurator. At this point I'll want to save in case there's a crash or something, but the creation kit has been behaving itself, so that's one positive side. So that's the placement done. Not too much of a mission. Like I said, sometimes it can be lengthy if you have something like this to work with and you have no idea what you're looking at. Once that is done, I will then have to go into the quest system. So we'll go to the Winterhold helper quest. This is basically a helper quest that will hold aliases, and when the quest is stopped and start with the various scripts, it will try to fill the aliases with the matching Skyshards. That's how I can basically detect if a Skyshard has been activated or not, and then pass it on to the quest system, which then updates, you know, quest objectives and stages and stuff like that. So you'll see here's the previous ones, and we are going to just go and duplicate the last one, and we're just going to fill in the information here. So this will be number 8, and we need to set it to a specific reference. So I'll go and filter this by DMN, and say any, and then go through these references and find the Winterhold 081, which is basically the one that I just had. So I'll just go through that, and I will hit OK, and that's pretty much everything that I have. And then if I go here right now, that is done, I can then go into the main Winterhold quest, and I can then go to the quest objectives. And obviously there's a lot of filler text that I had. I think starting with 1.3 was the last actual main quest objectives that I actually wrote, due to time constraints, and to actually write them like this, I would actually have to go into the game world, take into account the lore, take into the account the various landmarks, and that unfortunately takes far more time to come up with. So I thought, you know, okay, some people don't really care about that, some people don't care about the quest system, they just want to find the Skyshards, have it in the world. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm just going to have placeholder text. So that's exactly what we're going to do now. So since we added a new Skyshard, we need to add a new stage. These are all based separately from 0 to 10. So like 10 will be the first Skyshard, 7 is the 7th. So obviously we're going to go and we're going to create 80 as the new index, and that's going to be our 8th Skyshard, and we're just going to copy and paste this. And in our quest stage we're going to do the same. So we're going to go and we're going to create a quest stage of 80, copy this, add a bit of flavor text, and we're going to copy the no, this is actually the final one, so I don't need this technically. So I'll play around with this, because obviously I have to have some write-up, because since this is the final version, there aren't going to be any additional Skyshards. Like, that's it, that's done. So something else is going to come here, and that's going to be 8 of 8. And then obviously the last one where there was only 7 now gets updated to 7 of 8. I have found my 7th Skyshard, and then these all just have to be updated to have up to 8. Now I looked into having this dynamically done and having scripts handle them and like text placeholders, and like nothing worked. So unfortunately this was the quickest option at the end of the day, and like I said, as you can imagine, this is where the repetition comes in. So I have to make sure, okay, that's all done. Yeah, and then the quest objectives, so it's up to there. So that will lead to that, and yeah, then that's pretty much it. So what would normally happen now, besides obviously the scripts that I would have to check through and all the debugging and making sure that the Skyshards configurator is up to date, and all that, and obviously the count cap and the count current and the count total, because the last version had 89, we're going to have 108 now, stuff like that. I go in game, and the reason why earlier, if you notice under the map marker data, I set the image type to Doomstone, that's to help me differentiate the new Skyshards that were added in that version. So I'll go in game and I'll check each newly added Skyshard that was added, and I'll make sure, obviously, one, is the placement good? Does the beacon look good? Are there any visual artifacts? Is it affecting anything in the surrounding area? And then after that, obviously try the activation, make sure that it updates to the quest system and all that. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think I've covered everything in terms of what I'd normally do. There's obviously a few things that may have missed me at this time, but I think that pretty much covers it at the end of the day. So hopefully that answers the questions as to why it takes so long for these versions to get out. And yeah, I'm surprised I haven't gone that crazy yet, and we've had 5 versions done, and after this it's pretty much just updating the quest objectives from the placeholder text with actual proper hints and such, and then yeah, basically just polishing up the mod, and then it's pretty much finalized.